My name is Christina Lopano. I work in the Research and Innovation Center here at the National Energy Technology Lab. I've been here for about 5 years, and I am a research scientist, and my background is in geology. My responsibilities can vary. I typically am responsible for managing research projects. Primarily, it is to develop appropriate research questions and develop experiments and techniques to test the research questions and hypotheses, and then relate them back and restructure them and figure out what it all means. I went to Virginia Tech for undergrad. I went in straight up as a geology major, which is actually kind of unusual. A lot of people change to geology once they're already in college, but I knew from an early age that I liked rocks. So I studied geology with an emphasis on geochemistry, so that just means that I coupled my love for rocks with an interest in chemistry, which I always found interesting too. So I did my undergraduate degree. I got a bachelor's of science. I then went on to graduate school, and I got a doctorate in geochemistry from Penn State. I got my very first rock and mineral book when I was like 8 years old. You know, my aunt took us to a bookstore and she said, pick whatever book you want. And I came back with a mineral handbook with all these pretty pictures of minerals. And she was like, really? That's what you want? And I was like, yeah. My earliest memories in school are probably around that elementary school age, in 4th grade maybe. I had a teacher named Mr. Atwood, and he was really into to geology and earth science, and so we did the chapter on recycling, and then all the students who brought in a whole bunch of recyclable items got to go on a special field trip, and we went out to a place called Ringing Rocks. There are these huge glacial deposits in northern Pennsylvania where there was just this huge boulder field. So it looked like a river, but it was all giant rocks, and so we were able to climb all over them and hit them with a hammer. And I think the difference with me is that it never changed. I just continued doing that through middle school, through high school. You know, I always just saw something interesting on the ground and just picked it up and put it in my pocket. So I think that it was a natural progression for me to go to school and to study geology. You know, I had some great chemistry teachers in high school who made it fun and interesting, and I think teachers play a huge role, because even if it's hard, if they're encouraging, if they're you know, make it interesting and fun, I think that can carry over. As a mineralogist, that's my background, is actually studying how the minerals play a role in these various energy systems. Without technology, we can't really get to the really super high magnifications that we would like to get to. Well, for example, for today, I never quite know what's going to happen. You know, I'll get a call with the instrument that I am in charge of is not behaving itself. So I'll go in there and I'll tinker around and I'll try to get it back working. Sometimes I'll meet with my students and my interns, and we'll talk about the experiments they've run for the week or are planning on running, and we'll shoot ideas around, and then we'll go and work in the lab and set up experiments and run them, and then collect the samples and get ready to take a look at them using X-rays or microscopes. Without thinking about it, we employ the scientific method almost every day in our jobs. I mean, you learn about it in elementary school, and then as you go through school, it almost becomes second nature when you study to be a scientist. I think that we can get caught up in the science or geeking out on cool instruments or technologies. And I think that we need to be better about taking it back to explain what it all means. Being able to tinker in the lab and be curious and think of ways to test questions that I have. There's a lot of fun with being a scientist, I think. And I think what's cool about it is that every day is different.